From the studios of Atlantic Television Network in Port Harcourt, this is ATN International News. First, the headlines. 13 soldiers sentenced to death in Congo. Islamic State claims responsibility for military attack in Somalia. Venezuelan economy grew over 9% in 2024. Suspects arrested over death of migration agent. Driver flying ISS flag kills 15 in New Orleans. Telsa Cybertruck explodes outside Trump's hotel. Nippon Steel offers U.S. government veto power. Congolese military... Congolese military tribunal has sentenced 13 soldiers to death on charges including murder, looting, and cowardice in what military authorities said was a drive to improve army discipline after territorial losses due to soldiers fleeing. The soldiers were sentenced on Tuesday in the town of Lubero in Democratic Republic of Congo's eastern North Kivu province, where Congolese forces have been fighting the Rwanda-backed M23 insurgency for nearly 3 years, as well as facing other military violence. Fighting has fled in Lubero territory, and cases of soldiers abandoning their positions have helped the enemy advance, said local army spokesperson Mark Hazuke. Some of the soldiers who are supposed to be fighting the enemy at the front have shown a kind of indiscipline, he said. We had to organize this educational trial to set things right. Overall, 24 soldiers stood trial. In addition to those handed death penalties, 4 received 2 to 10-year sentences, 6 were acquitted, and 1's case was deferred for further investigation. The hearings were intended to help restore trust between the military and the population, military prosecutor Kabala Kambundi told reporters. All those convicted pleaded not guilty and have 5 days to appeal their sentence. Kabundi said a lawyer for one of the defendants said they would appeal. Islamic State group on Wednesday claimed responsibility for an attack on a military base in Somalia's northeastern region of Puntland a day earlier, the group posted on its Telegram channel. In its statement, Islamic State said the attack was conducted by 12 militants and 2 booby-trapped vehicles, adding that it killed around 22 military personnel from the Puntland forces and injured dozens of others. Somali authorities could not immediately be reached for comment. On Tuesday, Secretary Forces in Somalia said they had repulsed an attack by Islamic State suicide bombers on a military base in Puntland, according to the local state broadcaster and a military official. Captain Yusuf Mohammed, an officer in Puntland's counter-terrorism forces, told reporters on Tuesday that 9 suicide bombers had been killed and several bodies had been injured near the town of Dajali in the Bari region. The group was officially recognized as the Somali province of Islamic State in 2017 and has been based in the mountainous areas of Puntland. For many years, it was considered a minor security threat in the Horn of Africa country compared with Al-Shabaab, which controls swaths of southern Somalia. In recent years, however, Somali franchise has refashioned itself as an important part of the jihadist group's worldwide network, with its head, Abdul Qadir Mumin, being named its global leader by some media outlets. Security analysts say Islamic State in Somalia has grown in strength because of an influx of foreign fighters and improved revenue through the extortion of local businesses, becoming the group's nerve center in Africa. Venezuela's economy grew over 9% in 2024, President Nicolas Maduro said, according to a transcript of an interview published by Mexican media outlet La Jornada on Wednesday. In 2023, we had 5.5% growth. In 2024, according to all scientific, statistical and technical data, we will surpass 9% growth in gross domestic product, with a very high level of growth in the real economy, as well as in the hydrocarbon sector, Maduro told Spanish journalist Ignacio Ramonet. Venezuela's economy in recent years has experienced a prolonged crisis marked by triple-digit inflation and the exodus of millions of Venezuelans seeking better opportunities elsewhere. In 2019, the government losing controls on the private sector, allowing for an informal dollarization, which provided a lifeline to key sectors of the economy. However, analysts believe the strategy has not been sufficient for full economic recovery. The interview with Maduro is set to air on Venezuelan state television on Wednesday evening. 3 suspects were arrested on Monday in the death of a Mexican migration agent who was found earlier in the day with no signs of life, state security and migration officials said. The death of the agent marked a rare case of deadly violence against agents weeks before an expected crackdown on immigration once U.S. President-elect Donald Trump takes office. State investigators confirmed that the migration agent suffered a head injury and was found with no vital signs. His body also showed signs of violence, according to a statement from public security officials with northern Chihuahua State. Mexican Migration Agency INM said in a separate statement that a third suspect, a Colombian national, was also detained. The slain agent was attacked at a checkpoint just south of Ciudad Juárez, which is across the border from the U.S. city of El Paso, Texas, when he asked an unspecified number of foreign nationals for their identification documents, according to INM. The death of the migration officials comes as would-be migrants await an expected tightening on entry to the United States once Trump takes office on January 20th. Hundreds of U.S.-bound migrants waited in long lines outside an immigration office in southern Mexico on Monday, hoping to secure safe passage north and enter the U.S. legally before Trump returns to power. Colombia's armed forces seized 626 metric tons of cocaine coral hydrate during 2024, the Armed Forces General Command said in a statement on Tuesday, up 35% year-on-year. Cocaine production and trafficking, along with illegal gold production, are considered the main drivers of a 6-decade armed conflict that has killed more than 450,000 people. The number of clashes with illegal armed groups like leftist guerrillas was up 52% this year to 44%, the statement added. U.S. Army veteran flying an ISIS flag from his truck swerved around makeshift barriers and plowed into New Orleans' crowded French Quarter on New Year's Day, killing 15 people in an attack officials said may have been carried out with the help of others. The suspect, identified as Shamsuddin Jabba, 42, a U.S. citizen from Texas who once served, was killed in a shootout with police after ramming the crowd. The attack injured about 30, and 2 police officers wounded by gunfire from suspects. It took around 3:15 a.m. near the intersection of Canal and Bourbon Streets, an historic tourist destination known for its music and bars, where crowds were celebrating the New Year. Police and Political leaders vowed to capture any accomplices, and police found weapons and a potential explosive device in the vehicle, while two potential explosive devices were found in the French Quarter and rendered safe, the FBI said. An ISIS flag was attached to a staff protruding from the trailer hitch of the rented vehicle, prompting an investigation into possible links to terrorist organizations, the Federal Bureau of Investigation said. We do not believe that Jabbar was solely responsible. We are aggressively running down every lead, including those of his known associates, FBI Assistant Special Agent in charge, Alethea Duncan told reporters, adding that investigators were looking into a range of suspects. The victims included the mother of a 4-year-old who had just moved into a new apartment after getting a promotion at New York, a financial employee, an accomplished student athlete who was visiting home for the holidays, and an 18-year-old aspiring nurse from Mississippi. Telsa's Cybertruck exploded in flames outside the Trump International Hotel, Las Vegas on Wednesday, killing the driver and injuring 7 others. And the FBI was investigating whether the blast was an act of terrorism, officials said. Videos taken by witnesses inside and outside the hotel showed the vehicle exploding and flames pouring out of it as it sat outside the hotel. The incident occurred just hours after a man drove a truck into crowds of New Year's Day revelers in New Orleans, killing 15. The Trump International Hotel in Las Vegas is part of the Trump Organization, the company of President-elect Donald Trump, who will return to White House on January 20th. Telsa's CEO, Elon Musk, was a key backer of Trump in his 2024 presidential campaign and is also an advisor to the incoming president. Obviously, a Cybertruck, the Trump Hotel, there's lots of questions that we have to answer. Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department Sheriff Kevin McMahill said at an afternoon press conference. FBI Special Agent in charge, Jeremy Squatch, later told reporters that it was not yet clear whether the blast was an act of terrorism. I know everybody's interested in that word and trying to see if we can say, hey, this is a terrorist attack. That is our goal, and that is what we are trying to do, Squatch said. He added that the FBI had identified the person driving the vehicle, which had been rented in Colorado, but was not yet ready to publicly identify the driver. Musk said the blast was unrelated to the Cybertruck itself. We have now confirmed that the explosion was caused by a very large fireworks or a bomb carried in the bed of the rented Cybertruck and is unrelated to the vehicle itself. Musk said in a post on X, all vehicle telemetry was positive at the time of explosion. Telemetry involves the automatic collection of data from remote sources, transmitting it back to a central source so it can later be analyzed. Suspected people smugglers will face severe curbs under new laws in Britain, the government said on Thursday as it steps up efforts to fight illegal migration and strengthen border security. Those suspected will be hit with travel bans, social media blackouts, and restrictions on phone usage to help dismantle organized immigration crime workers, the government said. We will give law enforcement stronger powers they need to pursue and stop more of these vile gang networks, Interior Minister Vet Cooper said, describing border security as one of the foundations of the government's recently laid out plan for change. Prime Minister Keir Starmer, elected in July, has prioritized tackling illegal migration by cracking down on the gangs who smuggle people across the English Channel, one of the world's busiest shipping lanes, into Britain from France. Over 36,800 people made the dangerous crossing in 2024, a 25% year-on-year surge, according to government data. Several dozen have died attempting to do so, with the Refugee Council charity terming it the deadliest year-on-year record for crossings. At least 69 deaths were reported over the course of the year, more than the total between 2019 and 2023, the charity said, adding that enforcement measures had made the crossings even more dangerous. The government needs to take a different approach if it is to ensure everything possible is done so that 2025 does not see a repeat of last year's devastating loss. Refugee Council head Enver Solomon said. The planned interim serious crimes prevention orders will allow immediate action to disrupt and deter suspected serious criminality, including organized immigration crime, the government said. The fresh powers are designed to mirror those already used to disrupt the other offenses, knife crime, slavery, and trafficking. Currently, securing an SCPO on suspects can be a complex and lengthy process. The interim will speed up the process. Gunman who killed at least 10 people in a rampage in a small town in Montenegro died from self-inflicted injuries on Thursday after attempting suicide, the country's Interior Minister Danilo Saranovic told reporters. The gunman, identified by police as Alexander Martinovic, 45, attempted suicide near his home in the town of Cetinje after being cornered by police. When he saw that he was in a hopeless situation, he attempted suicide. He did not succumb to his injuries on the spot, but during the transport to hospital, Saranovic told Montenegro's state broadcaster RTCG. Saranovic provided no details on the attempted suicide. Martinovic was on the run after opening fire on Wednesday afternoon at a restaurant in Cetinje, a small town located 38 kilometers, 23 miles west of Podgorica, the Montenegrin capital, where he killed 4 people. The shooter then moved on to 3 other locations, killing at least 6 more people, including 2 children, police said. 4 other people suffered life-threatening injuries. Police said Martinovic had a history of illegal weapon possession. Late on Wednesday, Police Director Lazar Spanovic said the suspect was thought to have been drinking heavily before the shooting. Montenegrin Prime Minister Milojko Spajic said there had been a brawl before shots were fired. Police said the shooting was not thought to be connected to organized crime. Mass shootings are comparatively rare in Montenegro, which has a deeply rooted gun culture. In 2022, also in Cetinje, 11 people, including 2 children and a gunman, were killed in a mass attack. Wednesday's incident shocked the country of 605,000 people. Spajic called the rampage a terrible tragedy and declared 3 days of national mourning. President Jakov Milatovic said he was horrified by the attack. Despite strict gun laws, the Western Balkans, composed of Serbia, Montenegro, Bosnia, Albania, Kosovo, and North Macedonia, remain awash with weapons. Most are from the bloody wars in the 1990s, but some date back even to World War I. Spajic said authorities would consider tightening criteria for owning and carrying firearms, including the possibility of a complete ban on weapons. We'll take a short break. When we return, we'll continue with the rest of the stories. Please stay with us.
Every day, our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders.
Seven migrants were rescued, but at least 20 are missing after their boat sank en route to Italy from Libya. The mayor of the Italian island of Lampedusa said on Wednesday. Amongst those saved was an 8-year-old Syrian boy hoping to join his father who lives in Germany. He was accompanied by his mother on the perilous trip, but she has not been seen since the boat sank on Tuesday. Survivors who were brought to Lampedusa said the missing included the 5 women and 3 children. The small boat set sail from the Libyan town of Zawara late on Monday but got into difficulty in the early hours of Tuesday and flipped over. No bodies have yet been retrieved. The sea migration route between Africa and Europe is one of the most dangerous in the world, with almost 24,500 disappearing or dying in the central Mediterranean since 2014, according to the International Organization for Migration. Most of those deaths occurred on boats that set sail from Libya and Tunisia. The Italian government has sought to reduce migrant departures, saying this will save lives at sea. In 2024, it recorded some 66,320 migrant landings compared to 157,651 in 2023 and 105,131 in 2022. Romania's new coalition government will make a series of tax hikes and caps on public sector wages and pensions via emergency decree on Monday, in a move to lower the EU's largest budget deficit as a percentage of gross domestic product. The prospect of presidential and parliamentary elections in Central Europe's second largest economy in November and December had triggered a spending surge that is expected to push Romania's 2024 budget deficit to 8.6% of GDP. Yet, Romania is obliged to cut its deficit to below the EU ceiling of 3% of GDP within 7 years, and the government emergency decree reflects its need for fiscal measures to come into effect before January. It has submitted a deficit-cutting strategy to Brussels in late October, but had not specified what tax and spending measures it planned to take. A draft emergency decree published by the Finance Ministry on Sunday showed the government will raise the tax on company dividends to 10% from 8% from January 2025. It will also lower a tax threshold for the smallest companies, those with no more than 3 staff and revenue of less than 500,000 euros per year, in stages in 2025 and 2026. In addition, it will eliminate tax exemptions and fiscal incentives for IT, construction, agriculture, and the food industry. It will also reintroduce a tax of 1.5% on the value of all buildings owned by companies, from oil wells to warehouses to electricity poles and so on. The decree will also cap public sector wages and pensions, as well as a series of subsidies. Political parties will have their state subsidy cut by a quarter compared with 2024. The government will also set up an efficiency department tasked to cut public sector costs by at least 1.0% of economic output in 2025. Romania aims to lower its deficit in increments over 7 years from 7.0% in 2025 to 2.5% in 2031. 3 consecutive ballots to elect a new president and parliament in Romania, which shares the longest land border with Ukraine, descended into chaos when a little-known far-right pro-Russian politician won the first presidential round on November 24. Amid suspicions of Russian interference, the top court annulled the election. South Korean police said on Thursday they had raided Jeju-ae and the operator of Muan International Airport as part of their investigation into Sunday's crash that killed 179 people in the worst aviation disaster on the country's soil. Jeju-ae 762216, which departed the Thai capital of Bangkok for Muan in southwestern South Korea, barely landed and overshot the regional airport's runway, exploding into flames after hitting an embankment. 2 crew members who were sitting in the tail end of the Boeing 737-800 were pulled out alive by rescuers but injured. The conversion of data from the cockpit voice recorder to audio files, which could provide critical information on the final minutes of the flight, was completed on Thursday. Ju Jong-wang, the Deputy Transport Minister of Civil Aviation, told a media briefing. Police investigators were searching the offices of the airport operator and the Transportation Ministry Aviation Authority in the southwestern county of Muan, as well as office of Jeju-ae in Seoul, the South Jeolla Provincial Police said in a media statement. Investigators plan to seize documents and materials related to the operation and maintenance of the aircraft, as well as the operation of airport's facilities, a police official told reporters. Jeju-ae was cooperating with the police, a director at the airline, Song Kyung-hoon, told a media briefing. Questions by air safety experts on what led to the deadly explosion have focused on the embankment, designed to prop up the localizer antenna used to guide landings, which they said is too rigid and too close to the end of the runway. The ministry is conducting a check on localizer equipment at airports throughout the country, Joe said. A probe into the doomed Jeju-ae flight is also underway, involving South Korean officials and the U.S. National Transportation Safety Board, NTSB, Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, and the aircraft maker, Boeing. It remarks unanswered why the aircraft did not deploy its landing gear and what led to the pilot to apparently rush into a second attempt at landing after telling air traffic control the plane had suffered a bird strike and declaring an emergency. The aircraft's flight data recorder, which sustained some damage, is being taken to the United States for analysis in cooperation with the NTSB. Joe said on Wednesday it may be difficult to release the audio files from the cockpit voice recorder to the public as they will be critical to the ongoing investigation. Investigators from the NTSB, FAA, and Boeing are in South Korea to help the probe. South Korea's acting president Choi Sang-mok said in a disaster management meeting immediate action must be taken if a special inspection of all Boeing 737-800 aircraft operated in the country finds any issues. South Korea's impeached President Yoon Suk-yeol has sent a letter rallying his supporters, saying he would fight until the end as he faces an attempt by authorities to arrest him over his short-lived December 3rd martial law. A lawyer said on Thursday, "I am watching on YouTube Live all the hard work you are doing," Yoon wrote in the letter later on Wednesday to the estimated hundreds of supporters who have gathered near his official residence protesting his investigation. "I will fight until the end of I will fight until the end to protect this country together with you, he said in the letter, a photo capture of which was sent to readers by Seok Dong-yeon, a lawyer advising Yoon. The opposition Democratic Party, which has majority control of parliament and led the impeachment of Yoon on December 14, said the letter proved Yoon was delusional and remains committed to complete his insurrection. As if trying to stage insurrection wasn't enough, he is now inciting his supporters to an extreme clash. Party spokesman John Seong said in a statement, a court on Tuesday approved a warrant for Yoon's arrest, which potentially would make him the first sitting president to be detained as part of investigations over allegations he masterminded insurrection by trying to impose martial law. Insurrection is one of the few criminal charges from which a South Korean president does not have immunity. It was unclear when and how it would make the arrest and whether the Presidential Security Service, which has blocked access by investigators with a search warrant to Yoon's office and official residence, would try to stop the arrest attempt. Yoon Kam-kyun, a lawyer for the impeached president, has said the arrest warrant was illegal and invalid because the CIO did not have the authority under South Korean law to request a warrant. Fiji government on Thursday said police were investigating incidents involving 2 crew members of Australian airline Virgin Australia who were alleged victims of rape and thefts in Nadi in the early hours of New Year's Day. The crew members were in the popular tourist destination on a layover before they were supposed to fly off the following day. Fiji Acting Commissioner of Police Juki Fong Chu said in a statement, Virgin, which said it was aware of the alleged incidents, has sent people to Fiji to provide support but did not provide further details in a statement to reporters. Fiji police said the investigation so far had found some Virgin crew members had gone to a nightclub in Nadi. Unfortunately, 2 of the crew members were victims of an alleged theft and rape after exiting the nightclub, trying to find their way back to the hotel, Chu said. Vilami Gavoka, Fiji's Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Tourism and Civil Aviation, in a statement clarified that these were 2 separate incidents of alleged theft and sexual assault, which affected 2 Virgin crew members. Gavoka expressed regret over the alleged incidents and said that it's a suspect known for the police for alleged sexual assault had questioned and that investigation was ongoing. The South Pacific island and nation of Fiji is a popular tourist destination and received 76,845 visitors in November, mostly from Australia, New Zealand and North America, according to the country's tourism website. Australia's Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade told reporters it was aware of the reports but declined the documents. Taiwan's defense ministry said on Thursday that Chinese airplanes and warships had carried out the first combat patrol around the island of the New Year, after Taiwan President Lai Ching-te again expressed willingness to talk to Beijing. China, which views democratically governed Taiwan as its own territory, sends its military into the skies and waters near the island on an almost daily basis, and holds what Taiwan calls joint combat readiness patrols several times a month. Taiwan's defense ministry said it had detected 22 Chinese military aircraft, including J-16 fighter jets, carrying out a joint combat and around Taiwan in conjunction with Chinese warships starting on Thursday morning. It said the Chinese aircraft flew in airspace to the north, west, southwest and east of Taiwan, and that Taiwanese forces were dispatched to keep watch. China's defense ministry did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Lai, in his New Year's Day news conference, reiterated his desire for exchanges with China. He has repeatedly called for talks but has been rebuffed. Beijing, which held 2 rounds of war games around Taiwan last year, calls him a separatist. On Wednesday, China's Eastern Theater Command, whose area of responsibility includes Taiwan, released a New Year video on social media of warships and warplanes and what appeared to be a Chinese fighter jet flying near Osborne. U.S. sometimes sends through the Taiwan Strait. Lai and his government say only Taiwan people can decide their future. China's National Health Commission said that it would address gaps in its mental health services from 2025 to 2027 as authorities try to deal with an increasing number of mental health issues, particularly amongst children and adolescents. China will set up a mental health hotline, establish regional mental health cares throughout the country, and actively develop key clinical specialties in mental health, the National Health Commission (NHC) said in a Tuesday statement on Tuesday. The announcement comes after mental health issues have sprung to the forefront in China after several violent incidents in 2024, including a series of stabbing cases and 2 separate cases of cars ramming. Services for mental and sleep disorders should be available at a minimum of at least 1 hospital in each prefecture and city nationwide by 2025. The NHC said the World Health Organization estimates 54 million people in China suffer from depression and about 41 million suffer from anxiety disorders out of a population of 1.4 billion. The prevalence of depression among adolescents is around 2%, the official news agency Xinhua reported this week, citing Xi Ben, the Communist Party chief of the Shanghai Mental Health Center. More than 95% of China's schools are expected to have a full-time or part-time instructor for mental health education this year, according to a 3-year national action plan launched in 2023. As China's economy slows, employment opportunities are more precarious and fewer people are being lifted up by China's long-running economic growth. The repercussions on mental health from such economic pressures are growing, experts say. China's official crime statistics shows that its rates of violent crimes are much lower than global averages. Malaysia's communications regulators said it granted Tencent's WeChat and ByteDance's TikTok license to operate in the country under a new social media law, but that some other platforms had not applied. The law, aimed at tackling rising cybercrime, requires social media platforms and messaging services with more than 8 million users in Malaysia to obtain a license or face legal action. It came into effect on January 1. In a statement on Wednesday, the Malaysian Communications and Multimedia Commission said messaging platform Telegram was in the final stages of obtaining its license, while Meta Platforms, which owns Facebook, Instagram and WhatsApp, had begun the licensing process. The regulator said X had not submitted an application because the platform said its local user base did not reach the 8 million threshold. The regulator said it was reviewing the validity of X's claim. Malaysia reported a sharp increase in harmful social media content in early 2024 and urged social media firms, including Meta and short video platform TikTok, to step up monitoring of their platforms. Malaysian authorities deem online gambling, scams, child pornography and grooming, cyberbullying and content related to race, religion and royalty as harmful. The companies do not publish the number of users per country on their platforms. According to independent data provider World Population Review, WeChat has 12 million users in Malaysia. Advisory firm Skepios said YouTube had about 24.1 million users in Malaysia in early 2024. TikTok 26 0.68 million users aged 18 and above, Facebook 23.35 million users, and X had 5.71 million. South Korea's acting president Choi Sang-mok said on Thursday immediate action must be taken if a special inspection of all Boeing 737-800 aircraft operated in the country finds any issues as authorities ramp up a probe into Sunday's deadly air crash. The conversion of data from the Jeju Air 762216 cockpit voice recorder to audio file should be completed by Friday, Choi told a disaster management meeting which could provide critical information on the final minutes of the doomed flight. All 175 passengers and 4 of 6 crew members were killed on Sunday when the Jeju Airjet belly landed at Muan International Airport in the country's southwest and slammed into an earth and concrete embankment, bursting into flames. 2 crew members located near the tail of the Boeing 737-800 survived. As there's great public concern about the same aircraft model involved in the accident, the Transport Ministry and relevant organizations must conduct a thorough inspection of operation, maintenance, education, and training, Choi said. Choi's comments at the start of the meeting were provided by his office. Questions by air safety experts on what led to the deadly explosion have focused on the embankment designed to prop up navigation equipment that they said may have been built too close to the end of the runway. The aircraft's flight data recorder, which sustained some damage, is being taken to United States for analysis in operation with the U.S. National Transportation Safety Board (NTSB). Investigators from the NTSB, U.S. Federation Aviation Administration, and the maker of the aircraft, Boeing, are in South Korea to help probe the worst air disaster in country. Choi asked no effort be spared in helping the families of the victims as the remains of those killed are handed over them. He also asked the police to take action against anyone posting malicious messages and fake news on social media related to the disaster. Indian authorities said on Thursday they had completed moving toxic waste from the site of the 1984 Bhopal gas leak disaster, which killed more than 5,000 people, to a disposal facility where it will take 3 to 9 months to incinerate. In the early hours of December 3, 1984, methyl isocyanates gas leaked from a pesticide factory owned by American Union Carbide Corporation, poisoning more than 500,000 people in Bhopal, capital of the Indian state of Madhya Pradesh. 12 leak-free containers carrying 327 metric tons of toxic waste for incineration reached the Fithamfor plant 230 kilometers from Bhopal on Thursday amid heavy security. Swantatra Kumar Singh, the director of Bhopal Gas Tragedy Relief and Rehabilitation Department, told reporters. A trial run for the disposal of 10 metric tons of waste was conducted in 2015, and the disposal of the remaining 337 metric tons will be completed within 3 to 9 months, the state government said in a statement. Singh said the process of disposal is environmentally safe and will be done in a manner which cannot harm the environment of the local ecosystem. However, Rachma Dingera, a Bhopal-based activist who has worked with survivors of the tragedy, said the solid waste after incineration would be buried in a landfill and will cause water contamination and result in environmental concerns. Built in 1969, the Union Carbide plant, which is now owned by Dow Chemical, was seen as a symbol of industrialization in India, generating thousands of jobs for the poor and at the same time manufacturing cheap pesticides for millions of farmers. Japan's Nippon Steel has proposed giving the U.S. government's veto power over any potential cuts to U.S. U.S. Steel's production capacity as part of its efforts to secure President Joe Biden's approval for acquiring the American steelmaker. A source familiar with the matter said on Tuesday. Last week, the Committee of Foreign Investment in the United States, CFIUS, referred the decision to approve or block the deal to Biden. Biden, who will leave office on January 20th, must decide on the deal by January 7. If he takes no action, it would result in the measure's automatic approval. We received the SFIUS evaluation and the president will review it, a White House spokesperson said on Tuesday. The Washington Post reported earlier that in its proposal, Nippon Steel pledged a 10-year commitment to not to cut production capacity at U.S. Steel's domestic mills unless approved by a Treasury-led review panel. U.S. Steel and Nippon Steel did not immediately respond to reporters' requests for comments. Palestinian Authority temporarily halted operations of Qatar's Al Jazeera's television in the territory, including its broadcast, citing the network's dissemination of inciting material, the Palestinian news agency Wafa said on Wednesday. The Culture, Interior and Communications ministers made the decision jointly because the channel broadcast material that was deceiving and stirring strife, Wafa said, without providing details on the subject matter. The other said the decision was temporary but did not specify an end date. The Palestinian Authority criticized Al Jazeera last week over its coverage of the weeks-long standoff between Palestinian security forces and militant fighters in the Jenin camp in the Israeli-occupied West Bank. Al Jazeera denounced Wednesday's decision as an attempt to discourage it from reporting spiraling events in the occupied territories, according to a statement. It called on the Palestinian Authority to rescind the decision and allow its journalists to report freely from the West Bank without intimidation. The decision was not expected to be implemented in Hamas-run Gaza, where the Palestinian Authority does not exercise power. Fatah, the faction that controls the Palestinian Authority, said the broadcaster was sowing division in our Arab homeland in general and in Palestine in particular. It encouraged Palestinians not to cooperate with the network. The Israeli military in September raided Al Jazeera's bureau in the West Bank city of Ramallah and ordered it shut. Israel in May issued an order barring the channel from operating and broadcasting in the country, saying it posed a threat to Israeli security. A court subsequently upheld the ban. And that's the international news for today. I am Francis Neka. Thank you for watching. You can follow us on our social media platforms, X, formerly Twitter, AtlanticTV.net, Facebook and YouTube at Atlantic Television Network, Instagram at Atlantic TV Network. Watch us live on our website, www.atlanticnetwork.tv. Remember, peace and unity are the pathways to progress. Coming up next is Business News.